Hey guys, welcome to a new video. I was just on my way home from the grocery store and I was listening to Joe Rogan, like you do, and they started talking about guns. And I always find it interesting whenever people in culture and, you know, out into the general public start talking about guns. And he's on here with Theo Vaughn, and I just thought I would make a react video. I am not any kind of a legal expert or a gun expert or anything like that, but I just thought I would kind of react to what he's talking about here. He's talking specifically about the guy who stopped the mass shooting in, was it Illinois, Indiana, at the food court. So let's check this out.
Speaking of that shooting that happened at the mall.
Yes.
Did you hear about that?
Yes, the shooting that happened.
So they must have recorded this a while ago and they only released it recently. And just so you guys know that I can't do anything about the captions. I guess it's a known issue with Joe Rogan's podcast on Spotify. So sorry about that.
Oh, this is one of those crazy situations where an armed good guy stopped a bad guy from killing a bunch of people. This guy shows up at the mall, pulls out a gun, kills two people. And within seconds, this happens. This guy reaches into his, pushes his girlfriend aside, reaches into his waist, pulls out his gun, and shoots at this guy from 40 yards away.
No.
10 shots, hits him 8 times.
Insanity. Absolute insanity. I've been watching a lot more of the videos online of other operators, real operators and stuff, trying to mimic that, and just shooting a static target from 40 yards, getting an 80% hit rate. Not easy. I'm curious whenever we get all of the data after that shooting. I don't know when we're going to get all of that. As to maybe the hit placements of where he hit the kid. If that's out there already, let me know. Maybe I should have done a little more research before I started this video, but it just absolutely insane. I'd like to know more about the kid and who he is. And I heard something about his grandfather taught him to shoot and stuff like that, but I'd just love to know a little bit more about it.
Pretty far?
It's pretty far. For a pistol, that's far.
It's far.
That's far. That's like a good shot.
What ammo was he using?
Arrow.
I don't know if we ever get to know that.
It was 40 yards. That's a fucking poke. And for you to do this under pressure,
Guessing
and to take
hollow
a
points.
life, and he hit him 8 times. And he could shoot. He's a 22-year-old man. And of course, the NRA's jumped all over this, and they've said, hey, this is one of those examples where a good guy with a gun kills a bad guy. That right? What you just saw is another one of those examples.
Yeah,
it does happen. And
they were referencing some other video from, it looked like another country, where an off-duty cop was getting his hair cut and a guy got shot. The guy doing his hair, some dude walked in, shot him, and then the guy in the chair was an off-duty cop, pulled his gun and killed the guy.
People don't want to admit that happens because it doesn't fit with their narrative. This is one of the things that always happens when there's a hot topic, whether it's gun control or whatever it is, where you have a very specific idea of what you think the problem is and what you think the solution is. And
yeah, so what he's talking about is, like, I've heard, like, on The View, those women, I don't even understand how people even watch that show anymore, but they were on there talking about how could this kid, it's still not right that he brought a gun in there, even though he stopped countless lives from being lost. It just is absolute insanity to me.
People think the problem is guns. The solution is take all the guns. And, some people say, no, the solution is you should be armed and be prepared to take care of things. Mm-hmm. If something goes wrong, you should be trained and you should be prepared to use your gun.
Yeah, that's and I'm sorry for stopping this, but I think I'm on these React videos, you're supposed to kind of talk a little bit over some of this stuff. You can't just let it play too much. He's absolutely right. I feel bad that I don't have more training. I've taken a couple pistol classes. I need to take way more pistol classes. I mean, I think we should all be lifelong learners, especially if we're going to be carrying a gun concealed on us.
It depends entirely on whether or not this guy has a red dot and how much he's trained. If he has a red dot, it's considerably easier to hit what you're aiming at. But a red dot, like when you draw and you have a red dot, the red dot will show you exactly where that bullet's going to go.
And when it turns green, is that when you shoot?
No.
So what, true-ish, I mean, it depends on what you have your zero at, as probably you guys know. Like it's not immediately going to be, if you have your red dot zeroed in at 25 yards, if the guy's 10 yards away, it's not going to be exactly where you put the red dot. So that's a little bit not exactly true.
red. It stays red.
We need to know our holdovers.
It's just, in place of the iron sights, like the iron sights you have like on a gun.
Oh, yeah, the little thing.
Yeah,
like
the little
that.
thing, and then in between it is like you put
he's talking about
little dot that's on the end of the pistol, and you line the two of them up and you shoot. With a red dot, you don't have to do that. You just pull it out, and it's like a sight, and in that sight there's a red dot. Wherever that red dot is, that's where that bullet's going to go.
Damn.
So,
and how accurate is that? How much times?
It depends entirely on whether or not you've sighted in the gun properly. But if you sighted in the gun properly, it's very accurate, especially if you have a really good gun, like a staccato or a SIG or some top.
Yeah, like a staccato. So like I have my staccato right here. Absolutely. I mean, I know some of you corn-fed boys are out there concealing staccatos, and maybe a staccato C2. This is a staccato P. But he's 100% right. They're not going to get into the details too much about gun stuff on this, I'm sure. It's also good to mention about making sure that you have your red dot mounted properly. You've used your Loctite and all that kind of stuff to make sure that if you're going to be using this as a self-defense weapon, a concealed carry weapon, that you have that thing, securely onto your gun. For the most part, he's right. I mean, it's kind of, I kind of call this gun like a laser beam. It's really ridiculous. Once you get more proficient with shooting, red dots are a breeze. I mean, they're just so much fun. And I've actually heard some trainers say that it's actually a great idea now to train people if they're new to shooting with a red dot and just help them get the basics down of because there's so much more to shooting than just lining the sights up. As we know, trigger control, grip, hand placement, all that kind of stuff is very, very important. And then you can slowly move people into worrying about the your iron sights. But in the beginning, it's probably like a nice beginner mode to just say, point the red dot at whatever your target is. But he's exactly right.
Glock, high-end gun. So if this guy
Glock high-end gun, huh?
Clearly he did. If he hit that guy from 40 yards away 8 times with 10 shots, that fucking guy can shoot.
Yeah.
That's
So
like Steph Curry, really.
it's like
and do we know yet if the bad guy was moving? Was he a static target just standing there shooting at people, or was he moving? I mean, I'm assuming he's not going to be tactically minded, and he's going to be getting off the X as much as possible while he's trying to mass murder people. I would love to know those details, or if those details are out there, let me know in the comments.
How dangerous to shoot across a food court, though?
very dangerous. Very dangerous.
I've thought about that since that shooting happened, about in those kind of scenarios. If you've seen some of the some of the other YouTube channels like Active Self Protection and USCCA has a lot of great videos on this, where they put people in a real scenario where they're wearing some munition, they're shooting with some munitions or something like that, and actors come in and then someone gets aggressive, and so that kind of stuff is really great, but it's still, there's only so much you can do until the actual moment happens. A food court, in my mind, I'm just thinking of just people just running left and right, like in front of you. You pull your gun to take the dude out, and as you pull your trigger, grandma walks right in front of you. So now you've killed an innocent person. I think about that stuff too. So there's so much self-awareness that would have to come in, and just imagine the adrenaline going in. But I mean, the kid still saw target, ended target.
But not as dangerous as letting this guy go.
Right.
You let this guy
Correct.
keep shooting people, he's probably going to shoot you next. I mean, he's probably just going to shoot every body.
Especially if he's got a rifle.
So people always talk about like, oh, there shouldn't be any more guns, right?
Yeah.
Like, but how would you ever achieve that based on kind of where we are?
You wouldn't.
There's
You would
no
have
way.
to go full totalitarian, where you'd have to like break into everyone's homes and have a full account of all their possessions, and then even then you wouldn't know what they have buried in their
100%,
garage,
yeah.
buried in their backyard, buried, like in a storage unit somewhere. You'd have to literally comb.
At this point, there's 0% chance that they would ever be able to have full gun control. Yeah, they can try and pass stuff to stop us from being able to purchase more weapons or having certain capacity magazines and that kind of stuff. But all of that is superfluous. There's no way that they're ever going to be able to have America be a country that does not have guns.
There's more guns in this country than there are people.
Wow.
Yeah, like a lot more.
Why aren't there more mass shootings? I guess that's a great question based on what he just said.
That's unbelievable, man.
It's pretty crazy. That means there's 320 million people in this country. There's more than 320 million
I thought
guns.
it was 400 million.
That's a lot of guns, son. And they're making new ones every day.
Dang.
Every day, right now. Right?
I'm doing my part to own as many of them as I
Making
can.
guns.
I have 2 guns.
That's all you have?
Yeah.
How come you don't have more?
I would consider getting one more.
You would?
One of my newer guns is this CZ75 SPO1. I haven't shot it yet.
I could talk you into it.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
What kind would you like? A shotgun? Like a home defense gun?
Oh, yeah. I want
It just going back to what he said earlier. It is kind of funny that to me that Joe actually talked about high-end guns, and he mentioned Staccato, which is a very expensive 2011, or like a Glock. This is a Glock 19, a $550 gun. So, I mean, I would not consider this a high-end gun. Maybe not at high-end as far as how much it costs, but high-end as far as performance. I think we love Glock or hate Glock. I think it's fair to say that, high-end performance, I would say.
Talk you into it?
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
What kind would you like? A shotgun? Like a home defense gun?
Oh, yeah. I want something
Shotgun's
like that.
great because you get a lot of things go flying at them.
Yeah, I mean, again, not a firearms expert, don't have a ton of shotgun experience other than clay shooting and stuff, but definitely watched a lot of videos of other YouTubers shooting crap with shotguns, and people do like to say home defense with shotgun, and I guess it's a little bit simpler that you have a wider radius that the spread is going to hit towards, but there's a lot of pros and cons to shotguns for home defense.
Yeah, and shotgun, you might not kill them too, huh?
Let's see.
They make a gun that you definitely can't kill someone, but you can,
You don't want that. You want something that could stop a person, because if a person's coming after you, you don't want something that stuns them and then they shoot you.
So, again, not a lawyer, just a regular old dude like most of you guys. For everything that I've heard as far as shoot to wound and all that kind of stuff, or just why don't you just shoot him in the knee, or stuff like that. No one's thinking about in the court of law with that. Well, if you shot him in the knee, then I guess you could have just not shot him at all, right? Like these prosecuting attorneys or whatever whatever kind of attorneys it is that would be coming after you as the person that was defending your life or your home, they're going to do anything, say anything that they possibly can to make you look guilty and make their client, the one that was breaking into your home, look innocent. I have no intention of shooting to wound if I was in a self-defense situation. There's way too much gray area. If I'm having to pull my gun, whether I'm at home or out in public, that immediately means that there was no other option. It was my life or my friend's family, community's life, or this bad guy's life. So I'm not going to just shoot to wound at that point. And how many videos have you seen of dudes taking lots of rounds and still living? And whether they bleed out and die later or what, but I mean, you don't want to shoot to wound. It's like, are you going to shoot him with a shotgun and then wait to see if he stops moving? Or no, you're going to empty whatever magazine or tube you've got into the guy. So
if you're in that position where you're forced to use what they would call lethal force, you want it to actually work.
everybody was always used to say that they would rather get stabbed than get gunned.
Oh, they're crazy.
Never.
But yeah, and then recently I heard, you should get shot. If somebody's like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you or stab you.
I hate having to keep qualifying the fact that I am just a regular dude who lives in suburbia, so I don't have any military police experience. But I've heard, I do watch a lot of YouTube on, tactical stuff and all that kind of thing, like a lot of you guys do. It's probably how you found me. And they say that knife wounds, when someone gets stabbed, it's just the worst, because think about all of the tissue that a bullet is going through. Let's just say you got shot once. If it's going through the muscle and the bone and the tendon and all that kind of stuff. Now think about a knife going into you and a knife tearing across multiple, just different levels of veins and arteries and tendons and ligaments and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I can't imagine a knife wound. It sounds awful, but they're never talking about banning knives, even though there's far more people killed with knives than with guns.
All depends on where they shoot you and where they stab you. Like if they stab you in the top of the head, you're probably gonna be okay, unless you're on The Walking Dead. Those guns, like those knives in The Walking Dead, they go right in your head.
Okay, I've heard Joe mention this many times on his show over the years, where it really annoys him about The Walking Dead. Let him keep going.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? You know how hard it is to stab someone in the fucking skull and go right through their skull into their brain?
It would be hard, huh?
Yeah, unless you get them in the temple, it's difficult. But in
Won't
The
let you-
Walking Dead, they just...
Yeah.
It's like they're made out of goo.
Yeah.
So maybe not so much in earlier seasons of The Walking Dead after the zombies outbreak first started, but now we're way deep into it, and the whole theory, I think, I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I've been watching it for since the beginning. The zombies have deteriorated. Like they don't really, their skull is not really a thing very much anymore. So that's why you see them sometimes just like squeeze their head and it just explodes in their hands and stuff like that. But I get what he's saying.
Do you still watch it?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible. And then also in The Walking Dead, the arrows
It was
don't go
kinda
through
bad
your
for a
head,
while.
which is crazy. Because
Yeah,
why
they
is it
just
so
get
easy?
stuck,
They
huh?
just get stuck.
It's more it probably just seems more exciting.
So he's talking about like Daryl's crossbow, the bolts in his crossbow, they never go straight through and keep going. You guys tell me like if the bolt going through and maybe hitting the spinal cord or something like that would stop it. But I think why The Walking Dead likes that is they like the shot of Daryl going and grabbing his bolt out of the skull of the zombie or whoever it was, and then him like kicking them while he's holding onto the bolt and ripping it out of their head. So of course it's for Hollywood effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's just special effects. But also the arrows have field tips. They're not even using broadheads. They're using like target tips.
Oh, I don't know that much about arrows.
Yeah, if you look at an arrow like in The Walking Dead, the tips, they don't have like a big broadhead, like a big cutting edge.
Yeah.
They have a point.
And they could easily add that those bolts, like they're never actually firing bolts on The Walking Dead. Those are always CG. Just like when Michonne was swinging her sword around, the sword was only about a little bit longer than where her hands were, and the rest of it they would actually CG. They could have put a broadhead on it, and CG, I guess.
Just a little pointy point. That's enough to kill the zombie.
But it's not, Walking Dead has never been like, if you guys have seen Terminal List, where Terminal List has been very meticulously accurate with gun tactics and reloading, and like some of the scenes that we've seen in the Terminal List where you see Chris Pratt reloading his gun, doing press checks and stuff that we want to see. But The Walking Dead is all about whatever the narrative is, of course.
Pull the arrow out, and it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if a zombie was coming at me and I didn't have a weapon, what I would use. I guess I would probably, because they can't bite. I think if they bite you, then you're done.
That's the whole problem.
You'd have to
biting.
probably outrun them or try and get them dizzy,
What do you think would get a zombie dizzy?
I think a lot of cutbacks, probably a lot of, 180s, 720s.
All right, I'll end it there. What do you guys think? I think I want to try to do more videos like this where maybe it's a scene in a movie or a TV show or something, or people talking about guns, and then we react to it. And maybe I can eventually have on people who are actual experts in this, and it's not just some yokel like me who does photography and videography for a living, but is also into guns as a hobby. People can actually speak on a professional level about these things. But what do you guys think of this? I would love for you to send me maybe some recommendations, and we can watch some videos and TV shows and movies and stuff like that in the future. But I appreciate you watching the video. Sorry if this was a little bit long. This is the first one that I've done of these. Like and subscribe. Appreciate it. See you in the next video.